Hey everybody, I'm Trevor Dancer. I'm lead pastor at First United Methodist Church in Jefferson City, Missouri. Today I have with me someone I've known now for 4 years or so, Amy Bretall, and she's been working on a project for about 5 years and has a kind of a whole cool story around it. But this is kind of the culmination of her work so far, a book called In Plain Sight, featuring her work of taking pictures of crosses in everyday life. Sometimes they're formed out of concrete and intentional, and sometimes, most often, they're kind of just, you happen to be in the right place at the right time, and light just happens to line up, and there you are. And it's her way of expressing the presence of God with us in all times, and that symbol of that cross. And so I have her today to interview her, talk about her book. So here we are. So welcome, Amy.
Great. Thank you so much, Trevor. It's great to be here and share.
Thanks. So I want to ask you kind of briefly a little bit about how long did it take to get to this project, and tell us a little bit about what you hope readers will get from this book.
Right. Well, it's really a culmination of over 5 years. And I started this by wanting to help a little girl I met in Cuba. And along the way, it was really part of my own faith journey, turning towards faith, rediscovering that. And I kept seeing these everyday crosses. Initially, I started taking pictures of true formed crosses, but along the way, in my struggles in life and uncertainty and not knowing some of those next steps, I kept seeing these everyday crosses, and I took a picture of one and then a couple more. And then it was probably 3 years in that I thought, well, maybe this is pretty powerful. And I would share them on social media of, that faith is in the everyday. And that's kind of how it started. But even more, I mean, I was taking pictures of some of these images before I even knew that it was of these everyday crosses. And I guess I really want people to take away from the book, what makes me happy is the spiritual connection and development that others are starting to have because of sharing these crosses. And I think that's the beauty of it, whether it's faith in God, a spiritual connection, a higher power, faith in your own idea, faith in community. It really makes me happy that other people share. I now see these everyday crosses, that it's all around, if we just stop and slow down and see it.
Mm-hmm. What I love about that is that you invite us into an intention to pay attention to it and see it in places where it is all the time. We just don't often pay attention to it. And there's some truth, there's power in recognizing that what we focus on is what we see. What we want to see is what we will eventually see. And so also I love about how each picture in this book is a little snapshot, if you will, into really your relationship with God. And that somehow each of these pictures meant a lot to you, resonated with you. And hopefully we as readers then can sort of grab onto that just a little bit and feast upon it and invite the Holy Spirit to work in those pictures the same way or in a different way for us. And It's true. Every single one of these pictures resonates. Some will resonate with us more than others, but each of them will resonate in their own way to us.
Right. They really were special signs to me along my path that I knew they were intentionally placed for me. The time of day, I was usually walking out in nature, praying, which was really just thinking deeply and giving recognition to a higher power, asking what my next steps would be. And I would see these, and they really sometimes just stopped me in my tracks where I thought I was like on candid camera, like, okay, did someone play? Really, am I the only one who's seen this? Okay, come on, this is a little crazy, because it kept happening over time and that pattern. And as I was moving deeper into faith, I would see these and they would speak to me, some resonating more clearly. Other items in the book, I really talk about my faith journey, taking steps of faith, that I think a lot of Bible-based principles, that the Bible is the original motivational speaker, that's that platform that we really have a foundation on. And I learned a lot through taking those steps in faith. And then this book was the result of that.
Cool. Well, I want to ask you about 3 pictures that just kind of resonated with me. In the book, you have a picture on one side and then a little writing on the other. We'll talk a little bit about it. This one from Nairobi. Do you want to share just a little bit about that one?
Right. In Kenya, yes. I was walking, it was a community of women who do pottery. And I just saw this and reflected on what I saw in the image of, it was broken and cracked, but there was still strength surrounding us. And I think really, I mean, that's community that we lean upon to still form a solid stepping stone in front of us. So a lot of times that was in Africa, and that I see things without, they just surprise me at times. I mean, often I intentionally think I will find something, but others I just get this surprise of seeing things and how I, what the message is within.
Yeah. Well, and I like how agree with how you worded it in your writing, but how the cracked stone still provides support and structure to us, right? And that all the other stones around it, I don't think any of them were really perfect. They all had little nicks, little pieces taken out, little small fractures in it. And I think there's power in recognizing that as a collective community, we're not our best whenever we are shiny, pristine, but we are actually at our best when we are recognizing our brokenness, our shortcomings, our failings, and we are collectively held together by the power of the cross that raises us out of that despair, and uses even our fault lines.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. There's strength in numbers, in community, in helping others, and recognizing that we don't have all the solutions ourselves. We need each other.
Right. Which is also kind of a cool point to. I remember this was 3 years ago or so. I interviewed you at another church I was serving, and you invited us to take pictures of everyday crosses where we see, and then share them to your Instagram and so forth. And there for a while, I had many people like just taking pictures and sending them to you or me, and it was really kind of fun, like a collective engagement of opening our eyes to seeing how the cross really is formed everyday life. I mean, it's kind of a simple symbol, so it just forms kind of easily. But if we don't pay attention to it, it's easy to ignore it. It becomes invisible. But the moment you really try to look for it and find it, you find it really everywhere, which is kind of
Right.
cool. Brings this next picture that I love. This is in Kansas City, a place you walk around all the time. The famous manhole cover.
Right. Right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, I think I called that covered with love, because while, I mean, underneath that, there's a lot of yuck and stink and ugliness that many of us can feel in life. But in that, I just see such beauty, this round circle, this solid strength, this cover that takes a special tool to open the manhole cover, and relating that to the analogy of faith. All we have to do, the leverage that we can use, is faith, and that there's such beauty. And I've stepped by that and around it and on it. But one day I just saw it for what it was, and it really just surprised me.
Yeah, I love it. Like that, just like this hidden strength that's there, right?
Mhm.
That in some ways guards us, perhaps even from ourselves when we need it. I just like your image of it being the solid strength that just really covers us from, well, the crap of life, right?
Yeah,
So,
right, right.
yeah. The third I want to ask you about is this one. Um, Tell us a little bit about this one. It's just simply called debris.
Yes, yeah, debris. It was in downtown Kansas City, and I was taking a walk, and I just stopped. I paused because I felt like I would see something around me, not knowing, and maybe that's, faith. Also, we don't always know everything, but I just felt like something was there, and all this broken debris, fallen down rubble. I just stopped, and I was like, "Where are you?" And there it was. And I think that's so often where we might have some intuition or a feeling that that is a voice within for us to listen to, not brush it aside. And that one is one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I think it's just cool how you said you were just kind of walking along and you felt something tell you that it was there. In Christian language and tradition, we call it the Holy Spirit that just pauses you in a moment. And I think there's power in that. And I love the fact that it's like in a debris, right? It's this vacant building that's just, something happened to it, whatever. And in the middle of the chaos and the clutter is this cross that reminds us that the debris that's there isn't always going to be there, and
Right.
that new life and new something is going to emerge. And it strikes me that in a year like this of 2020, there's a
Mhm.
lot of debris. There's a lot of things that are missed. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of heartache. And I think we need the image of the everyday cross to remind us that where we are now is not where we will always be.
Right.
And so that's why that image just kind of inspired me, frankly. It just gave me hope about what's to come.
Right. Kind of following up on your point of just having a community of people sharing these everyday crosses. There's still some people from the church that do so. And to the Instagram, I have a lot more crosses formed and the unformed, and some faith-based messages at Live, Breathe, Alive. But initially in my posting on Instagram, I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, I don't have that many photos of crosses. I better hold on. I can only post about once or twice a week. I can do that. And then all of a sudden I had this mindset change of abundance. I will find more, I will see more, it will come. And that's, Bible, abundance. And all of a sudden, then people started sending me photos of crosses. And there was even more power in that on social media, when they would send them, hey, I thought of you, but really they're not thinking of me. They're thinking of a higher power, and there's a larger connection point. And it's that power of community that then others engage in that and see it. So it has turned into more of that sharing and a broader impact that really makes me happy, that I saw these individually and they were a hope and inspiration to me in a lot of uncertain times. That's relatable to this year, but in every day, I mean, there's always loss or relationships or job or things that come along our life that we're not expecting. So turning to that faith in the everyday is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And finding that strength from others to share in that journey with you, right? I mean, that's the whole point of this book, is to share a little bit of your faith journey with others to help them express and experience their own. And so I commend you for
Thank you.
enduring a long process to get here, but it's pretty exciting that it's here and it is available at your website, livebreathealive.com. We'll post a link here with it as well. But and on your website, there's other items that you can buy with that as well. They make great gifts and great inspiration gifts. So if you're looking for an opportunity to sort of expand your faith in a rather unorthodox kind of way, this is a good way to do that.
Right. And even now where, a lot of churches are not meeting in person, I do find, I mean, there's community in that church place, but it's not always a space. It's not a place that we can find it in everyday surroundings. And what is also cool, the image on the cover is, I actually found this when I was lost on some back rural roads, and all of a sudden I stopped and turned and saw this, and it's actually turned out to be my best seller, because I think it provides just a sense of peace, even if you don't see it from a spiritual connection, the imagery, but then it's also just a great reflection that resonates for that straight road ahead, the presence of this pattern of the cross that's there by your side. The presence is there, steady beat, paced in between all these distance markers. So that's just, I mean, how interesting how you can start to take steps of faith and not even realizing what the end result will be.
Right, because it's there even on a manhole cover or on
Right,
a
right,
power line, right?
right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing a little bit of
Right.
your story and faith journey. And if you're curious about Amy, you can go to her website and read a little bit more about her. But thank you very much for saying yes to God and seeing this project through.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun, Trevor.